Hey, what's up guys? This is Nick at stridewise.com and today I'm taking a look at the very inexpensive Hawthorne boots from LL Bean. So LL Bean is one of the very few companies that I've reviewed that are not a dedicated footwear company. This is LL Bean. It's a privately owned retail outlet. It was founded in 1912 by a Leonwood Bean. Obviously, they're best known for their outdoor gear. When it comes to boots, they're best known for their Bean boots, which are very functional boots, I guess I would say, which are designed to withstand wet weather. When it comes to nicer boots, like that are popular with the Goodyear Welt crowd, they're pretty well known for their Katahdin boots as well, which are pretty chunky work boots that are sort of similar to Iron Rangers. But these Hawthorne boots are more sleek, they're more dressy, and according to Google anyway, they're more popular. So I'm gonna take a close look at these. I've worn them for a couple of weeks. Let's see what I thought. So the first thing that I want to address is that these are not particularly symmetrical boots because the pull tab just broke in half on like the third day that I was wearing these, and I was just using them to, pull my boots onto my feet, which I think is what you're supposed to do with pull tabs. So I was a little bit annoyed by that. This was definitely kind of a wake-up call, a reminder that these are very inexpensive boots. If you're knowing that, if you just pretend that didn't happen, I mean, these are relatively nice boots, They're this nice sleek shape. The toe is pretty flat. They do have speed hooks and open lacing and flat laces, so they're not the most dressy boots, but I certainly wouldn't call them work boots, These go just fine with jeans. They go just fine with like khakis. Even in some business casual environments, I think these boots would hold up like pretty well, so that is definitely a bonus for the company. Besides that, there is this flat fake day-night sole. This is not real day-night, or it would be way more expensive, but it looks like day-night. Finally, the one thing I really want to mention here is that LL Bean is very well known for their products being made in Maine. These are made in El Salvador, so that's going to be a deal breaker for a lot of people, especially a lot of people who like LL Bean specifically because all their stuff is made in Maine, or a lot of their stuff is made in Maine. But nonetheless, the fact that it's made in El Salvador does contribute to, again, that very reasonable price. Okay, so this leather is called Cognac. It used to come in suede, but that's since been discontinued. So again, this boot was made in El Salvador, and this is full grain leather that uses elements of chrome tanning, which is why it's a little more brilliant than your standard vegetable tanned leather. But it certainly doesn't have the depth of color of combination tan leather like Chrome XL. This is just a little too plasticky, and I'll just say it, this is not great quality leather. It's not too terrible, but basically I need to make two things clear. This leather is not great quality, but for the price, it's not so bad. I've had worse boots, but I can't stand here and say I love the leather. It's more like I accepted the leather. Now, as to taking care of these boots, I mean, you want to keep them clean. That's the same with all boots. As nice as it is to have boots that are just covered in grime and muck, you do want to make sure that you keep them relatively clean because like the dust and mud, that can like eat into the stitches and lower the lifespan of a pair of boots. Besides that, after you just clean it with a horsehair brush, you can just like do a general cleaning just with a damp rag. It's not a big deal if you just use like water on a piece of old cotton and then let it dry in ambient temperature outside of direct sunlight. As for the actual products to use on this leather, LL Bean told me that they like to use products that are often used on nubuck leather, which is pretty indicative of the quality of the leather that they use. They have their own leather oil called Boot Guard. That's made with a mixture of lanolin and beeswax and some other oils, and they really like that for this leather. They also recommend Nick Wax's conditioner for leather if you want a different brand, and if you want to make these extra water resistant, you can use McNett's Revive X. So you got those three products to choose from when it comes to conditioning these boots. So this sole is rubber with a bit of leather on the heel. It is clearly meant to look like Day-Night, which is a very nice rubber used on higher end men's boots like Viberg and Allen Edmonds and stuff. Day-Night is known for being a great compromise on grip and durability and softness. Compared to Day-Night, this rubber, it is way worse at shock absorption, like way worse. You can tell this is not as fancy as Day-Night. The welt is Goodyear, which is nice. I mean, LL Bean says they can't resole it. You have to find a cobbler who can do it instead, but that's not going to be hard because this is a Goodyear welt. It's super easy to resole, and it's a 360-degree Goodyear welt as well. So this may confer a bit more water resistance, which is nice. But there are still a few interesting things here that contribute to the cheapness of this boot. Number one, the insole is nylon-covered molded polyurethane. Number two, there is no midsole whatsoever, which is probably part of the reason the shock absorption is so bad on these boots. I also used to think this didn't have a shank, but it actually has a full-length welt board which means there's a strip of leather in the shoe between the sole and the upper. So it has a leather shank, and that offers a bit of stability to the shoe overall. Now, as for the sizes, I found this fit pretty true to size. I'm an 11.75 in a Brannick device. When boots fit true to size, I'm 11.5. In my Red Wing and Wolverine and Thursday and Viberg and probably most of my boots, I'm a size 11 because they tend to run large. These were 11.5 and I didn't have any issues with that. I should say there are some people who did feel they had to size down, so it's possible that'll happen too, I don't know. I was fine with 11.5. As for breaking them in, I did not have any break-in, which was nice. The leather was a little bit stiff, of course, when I first got it. That's pretty normal. But I didn't get any blisters. The lining is very nice. I mean, it's not the most luxurious glove leather lining out there, but it's very nice. It's quite airy as well, so you feel like, yeah, it's pretty comfortable in that regard. I do want to point out though that again, there's no midsole and the shock absorption was bad. Like, it's just bad. I didn't like the shock absorption of all of these shoes, and that was pretty notable from the get-go. Another thing I want to point out, the sizes run from 7 to 14 and they don't have any other widths available. Now, I'm a D, so that worked fine for me. I didn't have any issues, but there are a lot of reports out there from people saying they're too narrow. So even if you are sometimes an E, if you have a couple of E width shoes, it's possible you're gonna have issues with that. So that's just something to look out for. Now, you can pick up these boots for anywhere between $149 and $199. It's a pretty wide range of prices, but I got them for $149. I feel like that's what they are in most places. So that's really cheap. I mean, that's really, really inexpensive. I've been mentioning that throughout this entire video. It's really worth emphasizing. It is the main reason you might want to get a pair of these boots. I do want to say though that personally, my official recommendation is that if you're willing to spend $150 to $199 on a pair of boots, you should go to Thursday boots because they are about the same price and light years ahead in quality. But if you really like these boots, I mean, 150 bucks, you're not risking very much if you get them, especially because they have a warranty where as long as you have the receipt, if you don't like them at all, anytime in the first year, you can just send them back. LL Bean used to be very famous for their warranty in that you could return any of their stuff at any time after any amount of time without a receipt. They don't do that anymore, but still, in the first year, if you don't like them, you can send them back. So that's definitely a big bonus. All right, so why should you get a pair of Hawthorne boots? I quite like that they're leather lined. It seems like a small thing, but it does make it a bit more of a luxurious experience, especially for a pair of boots at this price point. And it also made sure I didn't get any blisters, so that was pretty nice as well. The leather, not the best leather in the world for this price point, not the worst leather in the world. So I mean, that was a bonus. At least their selection isn't that bad for the type of leather that they are selecting from. That warranty, you can hand them back anytime in the first year. That's a pretty big bonus for these shoes. They're nice, slim aesthetic. This is a little bit similar to the Allen Edmonds Higgins Mill as far as aesthetic goes. Those boots are much higher quality, don't get me wrong, but just as far as the aesthetic, as far as the silhouette goes, very nice. Flat toe boot, and they're a pretty decent flat toe boot if you are on a budget. I don't think it's the best boot for this money, but it is far from the worst boot for this money as well. If you are on a budget looking for some boots that are going to work in a bunch of environments, yeah, they're not bad, and the price is definitely the biggest pro for the product, and it's what makes all the downsides I'm about to get into more forgivable. Now, I did have some complaints with these boots. This friggin' pull tab just broke in the first 3 days of wearing it. That was pretty annoying, I gotta say. But then again, I always could have returned it because I have that 1-year warranty. Another thing is that the shock absorption is absolutely terrible. Walking around in these, I could have sworn I was just walking around on a wooden footbed. They did not do a good job in that regard. I mean, they're not meant to be that outdoorsy, but still, for LL Bean, you'd think it would have slightly more functional dress boots than that. Another thing is that the leather, it's not that great. I mean, I know I keep saying it's not that bad, but it is also not that great. If you are someone who, if budget is not your primary concern, I wouldn't recommend getting these. I recommend getting something with nicer leather. The packaging also sucks. They just got it in this big box here, and the boots just kind of sitting in there, and they were just kind of lying around there. They could have easily scratched one another. I wasn't crazy about that. They could have put a bit more care into that whole process. The widths, they only have the one width. A lot of people say they're too narrow, so that could cause issues for some folks. And then finally, these are made in El Salvador. I am not saying that the artisans of El Salvador are unqualified or bad at their job. I am saying that a lot of people like LL Bean because so many of their products are made in Maine. These are not, so that could be a deal breaker for some people. All right, those are my thoughts on LL Bean's Hawthorne boot. Look, I would probably just get Thursdays, so I'm spending $200 on boots, but you might have a different opinion. Let me know in the comments what you think of these boots, and make sure you subscribe because I have a whole lot more boot reviews and comparisons coming up.